All right, let's just jump right in. Picture this, a whole galaxy, and it's run by this perfect, divine AI. I mean, every single variable is calculated, everything is managed down to the last detail. But even in a system that perfect, you're going to find cracks. And I'm talking about places where the laws of physics, of logic, even time itself, they just completely fall apart. These are the impossible zones, the fringe. This is where the algorithm fails.
And that's not just some fancy metaphor. This is a direct quote from a field report about a place called the Tempest Fracture. It perfectly captures what the fringe is all about. It's where the clean, elegant code of the IMPERIUM just dissolves into absolute chaos. And to survive, you need a totally different kind of operating system.
You see, these glitches in the universe, they create environments so extreme that our normal technology isn't just useless. It's actually a liability. And in these places, humanity has been forced to adapt in some of the most unbelievable and, yeah, often brutal ways. So we're going to look at 3 types of chaos: physical, informational, and temporal, and the incredible specialists who've evolved to master them.
First up, let's talk about physical chaos. We're going to a place where just trying to get from point A to point B is a death sentence. Welcome to the Iron Gates, a region of space that, well, it eats ships for breakfast.
I mean, just look at that combination of threats. It's not one thing that'll get you. It's everything at once. You've got gravimetric shears that can literally tear a ship in half, and on top of that, these non-stop ionic storms. What that means is your sensors are lying to you, your navigation is shot, and your super advanced AI pilot, it's flying completely blind. No wonder they call it the graveyard of tonnage.
So here's the fundamental problem, right? The AI, which needs predictable data and stable physics to work, just consistently fails here. So what do the locals do? The gatekeepers? They go completely old school. They developed a method called drift navigation. It's pure gut instinct, manual control, basically slaloming between invisible forces with tiny, precise thruster burns.
And this is where it gets just absolutely brilliant. How do you protect your critical data from being fried by an ionic storm? Simple. You take it offline, like way offline. Gatekeepers tattoo the flight paths, the ones that actually worked, directly onto their skin with this special conductive ink. Their own bodies become the hardware and the software, a living, unhackable circuit board that can fly where the divine algorithm is totally blind.
And this kind of thinking, this mastery of a totally hostile space, it's not unique to the gatekeepers. Take a look at the Void Rangers. These guys are the apex predators of the vacuum. Forget solid ground. They use magnetic boots to walk on the outside of ship hulls, using the architecture of space itself as their battlefield. They don't just survive their environment, they weaponize it. They turn the sheer deadliness of the void into their greatest weapon.
Okay, so we've talked about physical chaos. But what happens when the chaos isn't something you can see or touch? What happens when the threat isn't a gravity well, but a logic virus designed to fry your ship's brain? Or just pure raw data noise that can shatter a mind?
This is where the spirit weavers come in. Think of them as cyber shamans who treat data not as code, but as something tangible, something you can literally weave. They store enormous amounts of information, histories, star charts, you name it, in these incredibly intricate tapestries they call memory weaves. You can't infect a thread with a logic virus. You can't digitally erase a knot. It's the ultimate analog backup.
But that's not even their coolest trick. They have this ability called the warp skip. By reading the flow of data across the network, they can find these tiny, temporary wrinkles in space-time itself. And, well, they literally step into the space between the bits. It's a high-stakes form of teleportation through the network's fabric, letting them bypass firewalls, security, even solid objects.
But you can't just weave away every problem. In the Metis cloud, there's something they just call the noise. Imagine a constant, crushing psychic storm of raw data, digital ghosts, corrupted code, forgotten signals, all hitting you at once. It's so intense that any sophisticated AI that encounters it just instantly breaks. So how on earth do you get any useful information out of a place like that? You use a person. A data leech. These are people who have been modified biologically and cybernetically to be living filters for the noise. They are absolutely essential for gathering intelligence there, which is why they're revered. But the reason they're pitied is the price they pay, and it's devastating.
The constant exposure to that psychic static shreds their minds. They lose their memories, their emotions, and eventually their entire sense of self. They become these tragic but essential interpreters for a cosmos screaming in static.
So, we've seen people who can master broken physics and broken information. But what about the ultimate chaos? What happens when time itself is the thing that's broken? Let's go to a place that's less of a location and more of a conceptual wound in the galaxy.
This is the Tempest fracture. Here, the laws of physics are more like polite suggestions. They call it dream logic. It means distance isn't a fixed thing. It can stretch or shrink depending on what you're thinking. A single step could suddenly become a 1,000-mile journey. As you can guess, digital systems are completely and utterly useless here.
So in a place where cause and effect have totally broken down, how do you survive? How do you even take one step? Well, the answer lies in this number.
This is the world of the loopwalkers. They have this incredible, unique neurological trait that gives them a constant 30-second preview of their own personal future.
Now, this future memory isn't about predicting the lottery. It's a pure survival tool. They can basically test a step in their future sight to see what reality will do. Before they even move, they've already seen if that 10-foot walk stays a 10-foot walk, or if it stretches into an impossible abyss. They're living in a constant state of déjà vu, and it's the only way to navigate a reality that doesn't play by the rules.
But just surviving isn't enough for everyone. What if you need to actually fix broken time? This brings us to the Time Stitchers. And this quote, it perfectly sums up the entire theme of this explainer. When the digital world is unreliable and fluid, you go analog.
And just look at their toolkit. It's so beautifully old school, it's incredible. Time Stitchers don't use quantum computers. They use a time loom made of vacuum tubes and magnetic drums. They don't write code on a screen. They use punched cards. Why? Because a hole in a piece of cardstock is a physical fact. It can't change. And they use these echo quartz needles to literally stitch tears in the fabric of the timeline, repairing what they call lag tissue.
So what does this all mean? We've got pilots with tattooed star charts, shamans with data tapestries, and technicians literally mending time with needles and punch cards? What's the common thread here? What connects all these people on the fringe? Here's the most important point. They're not failures of the system. They are the system, a different kind of system. They are the human algorithm. Where the Imperium's AI demands order and predictable data, these people thrive on chaos, on instinct, on adaptation. They are the living, breathing proof that being messy is what makes you resilient.
And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. In a galaxy that's desperately trying to perfect itself with code, are these pockets of impossible human adaptation just a bug that needs to be patched? Or are they an essential, maybe even a necessary feature? The one thing that keeps the whole system from crashing when the math just doesn't add up anymore?